In this series, I would like to show my current configurations for key bindings in Visual Studio Code. And before we start, to learn more how to configure key bindings in vscode, please refer to the following page in vscode docs. There are a couple of ways to define key bindings, first of which is by using interface. Let's open up interface which allows us to redefine key bindings by running the following command in vscode command palette. On Mac we can do this by pressing Command Shift P, and on Windows it will be Ctrl Shift P. In here we can search for commands and explore which keyboard shortcuts were assigned to those commands. Also, we can run the search by hotkey. To activate this mode, we have to press on the following keyboard icon, and then if we press keyboard shortcut that we are interested in, we can see all the commands that are currently bound to this key combination. And in here we can easily override, add, or remove keyboard shortcuts. But we are going to use different approach to define keyboard shortcuts, and that is manually modifying file keybindings.json, where all configurations for key bindings are defined. So to open up the file keybindings.json, let's run the following command: open keyboard shortcuts JSON. So in this file, I'm going to add all my current configurations for key bindings. Every keyboard shortcut is defined by using the following object with a couple of properties: key, where we're going to define key combination, and the command. This command will be executed when pressing that keyboard shortcut. And the first combination I'm gonna define in here is the combination to open up command palette. And to do so, I like to use command OP combination. This is much easier to press for me than the default keyboard shortcut, command Shift P. And now as we can see, when I'm gonna press command OP, right away I see that the command palette was opened. Let's continue and define the next keyboard shortcut. I'd like to open up panel with extensions by pressing command X. And by the way, command X is used by default to cut the text, but I actually use another VS Code extension to do all text manipulations called VS Code NeoVim, and I'm going to create separate playlist on how to use NeoVim extension in VS Code. And for now I'm gonna specify that by pressing command X, I'm supposed to see extension panel. As we can see, it works. The next keyboard shortcut will allow me to open up panel with the settings. By default, this panel can also be opened by pressing command comma, but in the future I'm going to redefine this keyboard shortcut to do something else. And in order to open up panel with settings, I'm using Alt command comma. So it's working. Let's move on and define the next keyboard shortcut. I'm using command +0 to reset the zoom level of VS Code, because sometimes we'd like to make interface of VS Code bigger or smaller, and to do this we can use command equal or command minus keyboard shortcuts, and whenever we need to reset current zoom level to the default one, I'm using combination command 0. So as we can see, after pressing command 0, my zoom level was reset. Let's increase it again by pressing command equal a few times and review the next keyboard shortcut. This one will be pretty simple. I would like to close all notifications that usually pop up in the bottom right corner of VS Code. And to do so, I would like to press escape. Those notifications occasionally appear in this area, but this keyboard shortcut only should take effect whenever some notification is opened. So I'm going to add additional condition to specify when exactly this keyboard shortcut should actually take effect. And to specify additional conditions, we're using key when, and there is a huge list of all kinds of different when conditions that can be used as a value for this key. In this case, I need notification toasts visible. The next keyboard shortcut is going to allow me to quickly navigate to the particular line by specifying its number. So I'm using Command G to open up the panel where I can type in line number and quickly navigate to that line. Let's try it out. For example, in here I would like to quickly jump to the line 9, so I'll press Command G, type in the line number, and here we go. Right away, we have navigated to that line. Next keyboard shortcut will be used to navigate between all symbols in the currently open file. For example, in here I'm gonna press Command R and type the name of the function I would like to navigate to, and after pressing Enter, as we can see, we end up exactly on this function name. The next keyboard shortcut will be pretty similar to the previous one, with an exception that this keyboard shortcut will run the search across all project, not only within the currently open file. And now let's try it out. In the current project I have the file constants.js, and let's say I would like to navigate to the constant page timeline while being in the different file. So in here I'm gonna press Command-Shift-R and type in the name of the constant page timeline, and after pressing Enter, as we can see, we were navigated to that file where this constant is defined. Next, I'm going to define series of keyboard shortcuts to navigate between open files by using numbers. So for example, if I would like to navigate to the first open file, I would press Ctrl 1. And the same goes with other numbers. Ctrl 2, Ctrl 3, Ctrl 4. Let's try it out. I'm gonna press Ctrl 4. As we can see, the file was changed. If I would like to get back to the previous file, under number 3, I would press Ctrl 3. And now I'm basically going to assign similar key combinations to navigate between files by using their order starting from 1 and up until 9. It's more for completion's sake, because usually I just use numbers from 1 to 5. Let's continue assigning keyboard shortcuts in the next lesson, and the link to the repository with this configuration file will be in the video description. The next set of keyboard shortcuts I would like to define will be related to working with the search. But before that, let's define a couple of additional keyboard shortcuts that will allow us to focus on the File Explorer. Usually to focus on the File Explorer, I'm using combination Command-H. And let's also define a couple of conditions that define when this keyboard shortcut will take effect. There are actually lots of such conditions, and they are highly dependent on the specific keyboard shortcuts, so I'm not going to explain in detail what each of those conditions actually means, but instead we'll just use those conditions that work in my case for these specific keyboard shortcuts. So after saving the file and pressing Command-H, as we can see, File Explorer receives focus. But unfortunately, if we will press Command-H again, the focus will not be shifted back to the editor. To make it work, we have to define additional keyboard shortcuts. So here we are using same keyboard shortcut Command-H, but in this case we need the command called Focus Active Editor Group, and we're going to make this keyboard shortcut take effect only when our editor is not currently focused, which will be ensured by using the following condition. So right now, if my focus is currently located on the file and I'll press Command-H, the focus is shifted to the File Explorer. And if I'm currently focused on the File Explorer, pressing Command-H will shift focus to the file itself. The next keyboard shortcut that we are going to register will allow us to focus on the search field. Default keyboard shortcut to open up panel with the search is Command-Shift-F. So when pressing Command-H, I want that search field to receive focus. Let's do so. Let's define keyboard shortcuts. Also register same key combination, Command H. In this case, the command name will be view search focus, and the following condition, which will ensure that this keyboard shortcut will only take effect when the global search panel is open and the search field does not yet have focus. And now, as we can see, after pressing Command H, search field receives focus. So this will only work if global search panel is opened. Otherwise, Command H will shift focus to the file explorer. The next keyboard shortcut, which will be Command K, is going to allow us to move the focus to the next input box. So firstly, I'm going to define this keyboard shortcut, and after that, we'll demonstrate how it works. So now, if we're gonna shift focus to the search field, and we'll press Command K, as we can see the focus shifts down to the next input box. And now to move in opposite direction, I'm going to register another keyboard shortcuts. I'm using Command L to move up, so I'm pretty much going to register almost the same entry in here, and we'll just change shortcut on Command L. The command itself will be called previous input box, and also we'll tweak this when condition a bit. Again, these when conditions tend to be very specific, so I'm not going to explain them in detail. Anyway, the whole configuration file will be available in the GitHub repository, and the link to the repository will be in the video description. So now we can use Command K to move to the next input box, and Command L to move to the previous input box, like so. Next shortcut will be responsible for collapsing all search results in this panel. So let's switch over back to keybindings.json and add another entry in this object of configurations. So to collapse all search results, I'm using combination Alt, Command, semicolon. In this case, the command name will be collapse search results, and there is no need for when condition, so let's remove key when and try it out. If I'm gonna press Alt, Command, semicolon, as you can see, all search results were collapsed. Next, I'm gonna register keyboard shortcut for an opposite action, which is expanding all search results. And for this, I'm using the following keys: Alt, Command, and quotation mark. And after saving the file, when pressing Alt, Command, quotation mark, all search results were expanded, and when pressing Alt, Command, semicolon, they are collapsed. Let's move on. Sometimes I need to quickly focus on this search panel with all search results to be able to navigate between those results by using arrow keys up and down. So in order to make this panel receive focus, I'm using the following keyboard shortcut: Alt, Command, 0. The command name will be focus search list. So after pressing Alt, Command, 0, search panel with results receives focus, and I can navigate between these results by using arrow keys. But there is a problem. I cannot get focus back to the editor area, because currently I'm pressing Command H, which is keyboard shortcuts we have registered previously, to move the focus back to the editor area. Nothing actually happens. This has to do with an order of registration of some of these keyboard shortcuts, because those keyboard shortcuts that are defined later override keyboard shortcuts defined earlier. So to be able to shift focus back to the editor while having the focus on the search results, I'm going to take the following configuration and place it right after the next one. So now I can easily switch the focus back to the editor while having the focus on the search panel. As we can see, this time it worked. At this point we're finishing this lesson. Let's continue adding keyboard shortcuts in the next one. Let's continue defining keyboard shortcuts, and in this lesson we will focus on those keyboard shortcuts that allow us to edit code faster. And the first key combination I'm going to define in here will be used to open context menu. I'm using Alt plus Enter, and let's also specify additional condition so that this keyboard shortcut will only take effect if our focus is located on the file itself. As we know, to open up context menu we can use right button of a mouse, but if we're doing this many times in a day, using keyboard shortcut will save us lots of time. So when we press Alt Enter, as we can see, context menu is open. The next keyboard shortcut is going to help us duplicate the current line and place the new copy on the next line. I'm using Command J. The command name is copy lines down action, and as an additional condition, we will specify that this command should take effect only when our focus is located on the file. And if we'll switch over to the file with the code, and in here, for example, I'd like to duplicate line number 6, I just press Command J, and as we can see, as many times I press this keyboard shortcut, as many line copies will be created. Let's switch over to configuration file and define the next keyboard shortcut. I'm using Alt Command K to run formatting in the currently open file. The command name will be format document, and as for additional condition, here will be a pretty long condition, so I'm not going to explain every piece of this condition in detail, but the main idea of this condition is to restrict usage of this keyboard shortcut only when our focus is located on the file itself, just like previous two keyboard shortcuts. So now let's switch back to the file with the code, break the formatting of this file, and then after pressing Alt Command K, as we can see, formatting was applied. Moving on, and the next keyboard shortcut will be Command MW, and for this set of keys, I'm going to bind the following command, wrap with abbreviation. This is the command of the Emmet plugin, which allows us to quickly type in HTML markup. But what this specific command will allow us to do is to actually quickly wrap the tag which is currently under the cursor in another tag. So let's see it in action. For example, in here, I would like to wrap this div element in another div element with a class of wrapper. And as we can see, the parent div element with a class of wrapper was created. Let's move on. The next keyboard shortcut will be also bound to one of the Emmet commands. And in this case, keyboard shortcut Command MR will allow us to modify the tag name under the cursor. Basically, rename the tag. So again, in here, I'm going to position the cursor on top of this div tag, and when pressing keyboard shortcut Command MR, as we can see, such dialog appears where we can type in the new tag name, and after pressing enter, this tag was renamed. The next keyboard shortcut is going to be used to quickly remove the tag under the cursor. So I'm using keyboard shortcut Command M backspace. The command name in this case will be remove tag. And if we want to quickly remove the tag under the cursor, we just need to press Command backspace, and as we can see, the whole tag was removed. And the next keyboard shortcut we're going to define in this lesson will be used to match the opposite tag. So for example, if we need to quickly jump in from the beginning of the tag to the end of the tag, or vice versa, we can just press keyboard shortcut Command MM. So in here, let's say I would like to quickly jump into the closing body tag. Firstly, I need to position my cursor at the opening tag, and then press Command MM, and as we can see, cursor was jumped to the closing tag. And if we'll continue pressing Command MM, we'll be jumping between opening and closing tags. In the next lesson, we'll be focusing on another group of keyboard shortcuts. In this lesson, we're going to register key combinations that are going to allow us fold and unfold certain code regions in files. And the first keyboard shortcut will be used to fold certain regions. I'm using command plus opening square bracket. The command name will be editor.fold, and as a condition, we have to specify that we need this keyboard shortcut to take effect only when focus is currently located on the file itself. So if I'm gonna switch over to some file, and let's say in here I would like to fold this function, I just have to press command opening square bracket, and as we can see, this function was folded. And the same goes with other regions that can be folded. For example, this set of imports. We just have to position cursor over this block and press command opening square bracket. As we can see, it worked, and the region was folded. So now let's register another keyboard shortcut to unfold certain regions. I'm using similar keyboard shortcut, but in this case it will be command and closing square bracket, and the command name in this case will be unfold. The when condition will remain the same. Let's switch back to functions.js and try to unfold this import statement. I'm pressing command closing square bracket, and the region was unfolded. And of course, the same thing is applied to other regions that can be unfolded, for example, this function. There is also a way to apply this folding technique globally in a whole file to fold or unfold all regions at the same time. Let's register keyboard shortcut that is going to allow us fold or unfold regions globally. I'm using Alt plus command plus opening square bracket. The command name is fold all, and the condition will remain the same. So now if I'm going to switch over to the file and press Alt command opening square bracket, as we can see, all regions in this file were folded. And this way we can clearly see all the elements that are currently defined within this file. Let's continue and register the next keyboard shortcut. It will be bound to the opposite action, which is global unfolding. I'm using almost the same keyboard shortcut for this command. The command name will be unfold all, and instead of opening square bracket, we're using closing square bracket in here. The condition will be the same. So let's try it out and unfold all the regions in this file at the same time. I'm pressing Alt command closing square bracket, and as we can see, all regions were unfolded. And in addition to these commands, for folding and unfolding, there is also a way to apply folding to specific regions, but recursively. Let's consider this scenario. For example, I would like to fold all regions that are located inside this function, and also I would like that the function itself will be folded. For this, we're going to bind another keyboard shortcut, which will be Ctrl Alt command opening square bracket, and the command name will be fold recursively. So now, if I'm going to position the cursor inside of this function and press Ctrl Alt command and opening square bracket, as we can see, the whole function was folded. But if we'll try to unfold this function by pressing command and closing square bracket, we can see that those internal regions are still folded, because previously we have applied recursive folding. And the last command we're going to register in this lesson will be used to unfold all regions recursively. So I'm using Ctrl Alt command closing square bracket, and this shortcut we are binding to unfold recursively command. So this is the opposite command to previous keyboard shortcut. I'm going to apply recursive folding to this function by pressing Ctrl Alt command and opening square bracket. Everything was folded recursively, and to unfold it recursively, we're pressing Ctrl Alt command and closing square bracket. And now, not only the function itself was unfolded, but also all regions that are located inside, because we have applied recursive unfolding. Let's continue registering keyboard shortcut in the next lesson, and the link to the repository with this configuration file will be in the video description. Now let's define several keyboard shortcuts that are going to speed up our work with the File Explorer. So the first keyboard shortcut will be used to collapse all folders that are currently open in File Explorer. So for example, if I'm going to open up any file, as we can see in the File Explorer, that file is focused, but if I'm going to press Command and / now, as we can see, all the folders in File Explorer were collapsed. And just like we can collapse all the folders, we can also reveal currently open file in the Explorer. For this, I'm going to use Alt / and this command is called show active file in Explorer. And now let's try it out. So now all folders in the File Explorer are collapsed, but if I would like to reveal the currently open file in the Explorer, I just need to press Alt and /. As we can see, currently open file receives focus. And if I need to collapse all folders again, I'm gonna press Command / like so. Let's move on and register the next keyboard shortcut. This shortcut is going to be used to create new files in the File Explorer. I'm going to bind the command to create new file to keyboard shortcut Command +N, and in this case we will also specify additional condition so that this keyboard shortcut will only take effect when File Explorer has focus. So first of all, in order to create new file through the File Explorer, we have to focus File Explorer. So now, if I need to create new file, all I have to do is press Command N, and then type in file name and press Enter, and the new file will be created. And in order to remove files through the File Explorer, we can use the following keyboard shortcut, Command \. This is a default keyboard shortcut. Let's also register a new shortcut that is going to be used to create folders. I'm going to use Shift Command N. The command name is new folder, and the condition will remain the same. So now, again, let's focus on the File Explorer, and we can do it by pressing Command H. This is the keyboard shortcuts we have defined in one of the previous lessons. And then when I need to create new folder, I just press Command Shift N and type in folder name, like this. And just like we can remove files, we can also remove folders by pressing Command \. And lastly, let's register one more keyboard shortcut, which will be used to activate File Explorer, because there might be such cases when sidebar will show different panel, for example the panel of the global search or version control panel. And to activate File Explorer in the sidebar, I'm going to use Command E. So now, if I'm gonna open up global search by pressing Command Shift F, and then I need to activate File Explorer panel, I'm going to press Command E, and as we can see, File Explorer appears. And by the way, to hide sidebar, we can use default keyboard shortcut, which is Command B. And besides activating File Explorer when the sidebar is open, we can also use keyboard shortcut Command E to open up File Explorer when sidebar is closed, like so. So in this lesson we have registered several keyboard shortcuts to speed up our work with the File Explorer, and in the next lesson we're going to define another set of keyboard shortcuts. The link to the repository with this configuration file will be in the video description. In this lesson we're going to register lots of different key combinations that are going to speed up our process of working with integrated VS Code terminal. And the first keyboard shortcut will be used to open up panel with the terminal. I'm going to use Command T. The name of the command in this case will be toggle maximized panel. And by the way, this command is not specifically intended to open terminal. Basically, it is going to expand already open panel. So now if we're gonna use default keyboard shortcut, which is Ctrl \t to open up terminal, as we can see, this terminal doesn't cover the full size of the VS Code. but I prefer working with the terminal in the full screen mode, so I'm going to press Command T, and this way when pressing Command T, we'll be able to make Open Panel full screen or normal size. And just to be able to easily close terminal, I prefer using Escape for such cases. So let's register another keyboard shortcut, which will be simply just Escape key, and the command name will be Toggle Terminal. And as an additional condition, we need to ensure that terminal currently has focus in order for Escape to close the terminal. So I'm gonna open up terminal by pressing Command T, and now if I need to close it, I just need to press Escape, like so. Moving on, and the next keyboard shortcut will be Command N. This shortcut will be used to create new terminal tabs. I'm gonna use terminal new command. An additional condition will be the same. The terminal should be focused in order to create new tabs. So first of all, we have to press Command T to open up the terminal, and if then we need to create additional tabs, we just need to press Command N. The next keyboard shortcut will be an opposite one to the previous one, which is closing terminal tabs. I'm going to use Ctrl W. Let's specify command name terminal.kill and try it out. Firstly, I'm gonna open up terminal again by pressing Command T, and then if I'll press Ctrl W, I'll be closing active terminal tabs until all of them are closed. Let's move on, and to be able to easily switch between opened terminal tabs, I prefer using keyboard shortcuts, first of which will be Command K to focus the next terminal tab. And to focus the previous tab, I'm going to use Command L. So to demonstrate this behavior, I'll have to open up terminal and create a couple of tabs. I'm using previously registered keyboard shortcut to create new tab, which is Command N. And now to be able to move next between open terminal tabs, I'm using Command K. And to move backward, I'm using Command L. Also, I often have to clear current terminal tab, so I'm using keyboard shortcut to do it quickly. Let's register the following keyboard shortcut Alt K and bind it to the command terminal clear. So now, if I'll open up the terminal, add some output in this terminal tab, and then if I'll have to clear all the output in this tab, I'm gonna press Alt K. Also, vscode provides us with an option to work with a couple of terminal tabs simultaneously. In other words, we can create terminal splits. For example, let's register keyboard shortcut Ctrl N to create new split in the active terminal tab. And now, if I'll open up the terminal and press Ctrl N, as we can see, the new split will be created on the right. So if I'll press Ctrl N many times, I'll be able to create as many splits as I like. And then to close all of those splits, I can use Ctrl W. This is the keyboard shortcut registered previously. Let's clear out the current terminal tab by pressing Alt K and move on. The next keyboard shortcut is going to be used to focus terminal. I'm using Command plus H. The command name will be terminal.focus, and in order for this keyboard shortcut to work, we have to ensure that the terminal currently is opened and it's not yet focused. So let's reproduce this scenario. Firstly, I'll open up the terminal by pressing Command T, and then let's open up sidebar by pressing Command E. So terminal has lost focus, but if I need to move the focus back to the terminal, I'll just have to press Command H, and then I can continue working with the terminal. And just like we can navigate between multiple terminal tabs, we can also navigate between multiple terminal panes. For this, I'm going to register the following keyboard shortcut Ctrl semicolon. This shortcut will be used to navigate to the next pane. So let's specify the command name, focus next pane. Actually, this should be Ctrl semicolon instead of command. So once again, let's open up terminal and create several panes by pressing Ctrl N. And then to navigate between these panes, I'll have to use Ctrl semicolon. Like this. As we can see, cursor is jumping between these panes. And as a reminder to close these panes, I'll press Ctrl W. And to clear out current terminal tab, I'll press Alt K. Let's move on. The next set of keyboard shortcuts will be used to switch between opened terminal tabs. And all these shortcuts will be pretty similar. For example, to focus the first tab, we can press Ctrl 1. To focus on the second tab, we can press Ctrl 2, and so on. For now, let's just register 3 such keyboard shortcuts up until Ctrl 3 and try it out. I'm going to open up the terminal with a couple of tabs. And as we can see, if I'll be pressing Ctrl 1, 2, or 3, we'll be switching between opened terminal tabs. So now let's go back to the keyboard shortcut configuration file, and I'm going to duplicate this keyboard shortcut and create similar keyboard shortcuts up until 9. So basically it is gonna say Ctrl 1, Ctrl 2, Ctrl 3, all the way up to Ctrl 9. And for all those keyboard shortcuts, we are also specifying additional condition which will ensure that terminal has to be opened and focused in order for those shortcuts to work. So in this lesson we have defined several keyboard shortcuts to speed up our work with integrated vscode terminal. The link to the repository with this configuration file, as always, will be in the video description. Let's continue defining keyboard shortcuts, and in this lesson, we'll register those keyboard shortcuts that are going to allow us to quickly navigate between different lists, and also to quickly switch between open files. And the first such shortcut will be Command K, that is going to be used to open up the next opened tab with the file. As an additional condition, we're gonna specify that none of the other elements should be focused in order for this keyboard shortcut to work, because we have to be focused on the file to open up the next tab with the file. And in a similar fashion, we're going to register an opposite keyboard shortcut, which will be Command L, to be able to navigate to the previous open tab with the file. The command name will be previous editor, and the condition will be the same. So now let's open up a couple of files and try to use those keyboard shortcuts to navigate between these files. For example, if I need to open up the previous opened file, I need to press Command L, and to go in other direction, which is to open up the next file, I'll press Command K. Let's consider this scenario. For example, if we have several projects open in different VS Code windows, I'm going to register keyboard shortcut Alt-Tab to be able to easily switch between multiple VS Code windows. The command name will be Quick Switch Window. I have already opened additional VS Code window, and if I'll have to switch between these two windows, I'll press Alt and Tab. And as we can see, window switches. Let's continue registering new shortcuts, and the next one will be used to navigate between list items, for example, in Command Palette or panel with all the files. I'm gonna use Command K, and we need to make this keyboard shortcut to only work if we have any panel with list items open. So for that we can just specify in quick open when conditioning here. So this keyboard shortcut will be used to go to the next list entry. But of course we need to have a way to move backwards. So I'm going to define additional keyboard shortcuts for that, which is Command L. And this will be used to go to the previous list entry. And now just to demonstrate these two shortcuts, let's firstly open up panel with files by pressing Command P, and instead of using arrow keys to navigate between these list entries, we can press Command K to move down and Command L to move up, and this way we will be able to navigate in this list without having to move our hand to arrow keys and keep it in the standard position. Same keyboard shortcuts work in other lists. For example, to navigate between symbols, we can also use Command K and Command L, and also to navigate between different commands in vscode command palette, which can be opened by pressing Command Shift P or on Windows Ctrl Shift P. Here we can also use Command K to move down or Command L to move up. Next, let's also provide a way to move between list elements in the autocomplete panel. Let's register keyboard shortcuts Command K to be able to move down in the autocomplete window. Here the condition will be different. We need to ensure that autocomplete window is open in order to use this keyboard shortcut. Similarly, we will register Command L to be able to move up in the autocomplete list. And now let's see it in action. I'm going to start typing. By default, we are supposed to see autocomplete window that will appear, but in my case, I have disabled this behavior, so I need to press Ctrl space to see the autocomplete window. And now to be able to move between these results in here, all we have to do is press Command K to move down or Command L to move up, just like so. Moving on, let's imagine a scenario when we have several tabs open and the cursor in those tabs is positioned in different places. And to be able to quickly move between those cursor positions between multiple files, we can use keyboard shortcuts as well. So let's register the first one, and this keyboard shortcut will be used to navigate forward. In other words, to go to the next cursor position. I'm using Command plus dot, and also will register additional keyboard shortcut to move to the previous cursor position. I'm using Command comma for this. We also have to change command name on navigate back, and condition will be can navigate back, to ensure that the previous cursor position actually exists. And just to reproduce this scenario, I'm going to open up several tabs and position cursor in different places in each of these files. And now to be able to go back to the previous cursor position in another file, I'll just press Command, comma, and if I'll be pressing Command, comma, I'll be moving back by one cursor position. And in the same way we can go forward, but for this we have to press Command, dot. So this way we can easily jump between different cursor positions in different files. And finally, there are two more keyboard shortcuts that we're going to register in this lesson to be able to navigate between sidebar list items by using keys K to go down or L to go up. As a when condition, we're specifying that we firstly have to be focused on the sidebar list, and at the same time we shouldn't be focused on any input box. So now if I'll open up sidebar and focus on the sidebar by pressing Command H, instead of pressing up and down arrow keys, I can also press K to go down or L to go up. And these two keys are actually much easier to press without having to move your hand. So in this lesson we have reviewed several keyboard shortcuts that help us quickly navigate between list items in different lists, as well as quickly move between previous and the next open files. Let's continue reviewing keyboard shortcuts in the next lesson, and the link to the repository with this configuration file will be as always in the video description. This is going to be a final lesson of this series, and now we're going to define keyboard shortcuts to simplify our work with several panes. So in order to quickly create new pane in the current tab, I'm going to use Ctrl N. The command name is split editor, and for this command to work, we should not be focused on the terminal. So now if I'd like to create new split to the right, I'll have to press Ctrl N, and as we can see, the new split was created. And in this split, I can continue working just like in the main split. Later we will also register keyboard shortcuts to close splits, but for now let's use command delete and execute close editor command in order to close this pane. So now that we have a way to create additional panes to the right, it will also be good to be able to create new panes to the bottom. I'm going to register Ctrl-Alt-N and bind it to the command split editor down, which will do exactly that. So now if we'll try to press Ctrl-Alt-N, as we can see, the new pane will be created to the bottom of the main one. And then additionally, if I'd like to create pane to the right, I'll just have to press Ctrl-N. Let's quickly execute close editor group command in command delete to close all these additional panes and register the following keyboard shortcut. Shift Command W. We will bind this shortcut to the command to close all editor groups, basically to close all opened panes. Let's reproduce the scenario where we will have several panes opened, and now to close all of them at the same time, we just need to press Shift Command W. As we can see, all of them were closed. Now let's register another keyboard shortcut to be able to close currently active pane. I'm using Alt W, and the command name is close group. First of all, let's create new split to the right by pressing Ctrl N, and to close this split, we have to press Alt W. As we can see, it worked. It would be also good if we could actually change the size of currently active split by using keyboard shortcuts, and we can do it. Let's register a couple of keyboard shortcuts that are going to allow us increase or decrease the size of the currently active pane. So to increase the size, I'm using Ctrl plus equal, and to decrease the size of the currently active pane, I'm using Ctrl minus. The command name will be decrease view size, and let's try it out. Firstly, I'm going to create a couple of splits at the bottom as well as to the right. So my currently active split is bottom right, and if I would like to increase the size of this pane, I will press Command equal, and if I'll be pressing Command equal further, I'm going to increase the size more and more until this panel is fully maximized. And to decrease the size, I'll press Ctrl minus. Let's close these additional panes and register a couple of more shortcuts. I would like to navigate between different splits without having to use the mouse. And to do this, I will register 4 additional keyboard shortcuts to navigate between splits in all directions. So to focus the top split, I'm using Ctrl L. To focus on the right split, I'm going to use Ctrl semicolon. To make the bottom split active, I'll use Ctrl K. And finally, to make the left split active, I'm gonna use Ctrl J. So to demonstrate this, I'll firstly open up several splits so we could move in all directions. Starting from the bottom right split where my cursor currently is, to navigate to the bottom left split, I'm gonna use Ctrl J. Then to go to the top left split, I'll press Ctrl L. To go to the top right split, I'll press Ctrl semicolon. And finally, to get back to the bottom right split, I'll press Ctrl K. And at the end, let's just close all those additional splits by pressing Ctrl W. And this way we have fully reproduced my current keyboard configuration file. Hopefully these keyboard shortcuts are going to improve your daily workflow in Visual Studio Code. And the link to the repository with the final configuration file will be in the video description.